Hey.
Hey.
We're kind of rolling.
We are rolling. Yo, that's my man, A-Deezy.
And that's my boy, Dave Tweezy down there. We got some amazing, wonderful guests. Our first guest on the podcast, the King Crown Jewels podcast. We got some official Royal Court originals.
This is the squad right here. You know what I'm saying? Our man, the esteemed Ben Osborne and the lovely Patricia DeLuca.
The first lady.
Yes, that's the first lady of King. Here we go.
King.
I think a few others might take objection to that, but
those that know. How about that?
That's what it is. Yo, it's amazing to have y'all on. Just for y'all finding the time, y'all know how much I personally love y'all. And I mean, I can speak for A in this respect that the mag wouldn't be what it is without you two.
Not even close.
I mean, just setting the standard, the foundation. In the last episode, in episode 3, I just, spoke so highly about y'all because if not for y'all, I don't think the mag would have gotten off to the great footing that we did. It was a lot going on during that time. We were headed into like the whole 9/11 stuff. And, when you think about the environment around that time, it was hard to even think about putting a magazine together,
right?
Let alone launch, So that's something that we could talk about a little bit down the line in the convo. But I really wanted to start with Ben and Ben, like our history from your angle. You know what I mean?
Well, we have a great history, and correct me if obviously things are getting a little blurry, but I started as an intern at Slam in the summer of 1997, June, July 97. And Slam was like 3 years old then. It had its footing, but it was still pretty new. I think they were on like issue 18 or 19. And Double XL, Slam, obviously basketball magazine, Double XL hip hop magazine was in maybe preview stages. And, I was hired to work on Slam, but it became clear pretty quick that there was a lot of mixing because the company is just so small, which certainly leads to part of how I was able to work on King too. But Datewan, you were an intern at Double XL that same summer or like that fall?
That summer I got on like in a freelance state, but I was still kind of internish. And then by November, Reginald Dennis and all of them, they left. And Minya called me back and was like, yo, why don't you come on and work alongside of me? I used to have to fill out the intern slip. You remember those slips?
Absolutely.
But I was still writing as a freelancer, and I was still kind of like moonlighting with Vibe on the low, but not really, because I really wanted to focus on Double XL.
Yeah. So we're young guys just out of school. Maybe were you still at Baruch? Or you were done?
I was. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't officially done, but I was
done. I think I switched from intern to like associate editor of Slam probably October. So same time. And that's right. You had already been, in a way you were like, someone to look up to because you had already been at Vibe. And I think we knew some people in common from shout out Sheldon Bryan, I believe.
Yes, Sheldon. Fam.
And so, we're just, the whole company was young. It's not like we were working with 50-year-olds, but still, if you're 21 and the guy next to you is 27 and it's your first year and they're in their 4th year or 5th year, that's still a big gap.
Gap.
We were the two youngest, newest dudes on the block, at new publications that were growing and, that needed, there was just a lot of freedom of where they could go. And so I think we had like greater, I think an intern, especially these days, you have images of, fetching coffee or who knows, not important stuff.
Cheesecake.
Yeah, we were
Right,
doing,
right.
you know,
Juniors.
I did a feature in Slam, you know, in my third issue, you know, like
Yep.
we had real ability to speak up and real ability to do things. And,
That was
you know,
dope.
just an amazing timing that we started together. And, you know, I loved hip hop, but basketball was really my thing. It was so great that I was there, and Daytwan is certainly a big basketball fan, but more of a music guy. So we were really like mirror images, and it was awesome. And you know, we did a lot of things together over the years with the magazines, working so closely together. You know, real quick, I'll just share, you know, one of the bonds we'll always share is, you know, I'm sure hopefully people listening know about Great Day in Harlem. You know, that was a Double XL production, but again, the people at Slam that worked on Double XL, you know, were more than welcome to be there, needed to be there. You know, you just needed
Honey team.
And the women from Honey, absolutely. Like, you just needed bodies. And Daytwan and I basically signed in every single person that came, took the Polaroids. Little unclear where those are. I just found Del the Funky Homo Sapiens in my attic, but I don't know where the rest of them are.
Where the rest of them?
Y'all got to give some context, though. Come on, this is what, 22 years ago. Y'all got to get some context to Great Day of Harlem and what that shoot was, and how many people were involved.
Oh my goodness, man! 270 something. We had to count all. Remember that, Ben?
Then we also had to. They did the cover was like a gatefold, you know, so it was like all these people, and then you had to say who they were. So we did like a cutout of them, and then we numbered them, and then it was me and Daytwan had to match, you know, like, and there was like 17 that we never, you know, they were not famous rappers. Like,
some of them snuck in, you know what I mean? Right. I know some people that actually snuck in. A couple of people that was like, yo, I just ran in with such and such, with Tretch or somebody. But to give people the full scope, that's the recreation of the Great Day in Harlem jazz photo that happened for Esquire magazine, I believe. And we had the great Gordon Parks, the iconic Gordon Parks, photographer for life, and all of those dope magazines and stuff. We had him shoot the actual shot of all those different rappers from all over the world.
Who shot the original for Esquire?
Well, Art Kane or somebody like that.
Really? I don't know. Why was I always thinking that was Gordon that did the original?
No, Art Kane shot.
Wow.
But you know, the idea evolved so many different times that by the time Sheena Lester, who was our editor-in-chief at Double XL, by the time she got there, I know Tony Gervino, who was Ben's editor-in-chief at Slam, I know he had some insight into it. Jonathan Reingold, who we're going to have on the podcast, who's the associate publisher, he had some insight into it. So it was a lot of different people involved that it progressed into Gordon Parks getting the job to do the shot.
So yeah, when you have that, you know, again, age, experience, similarity, you know, trying to find our way at a growing place, and then you have experiences like that are, you know, there's been books and movies about that day, and Daytwan and I were just extremely involved in it.
We were thinking that it was me and B that was so thick in that, man. And B, I remember those late nights. Like, we used to have to be like, Dag, did you see when such and such came? Oh, nah. Oh, no. This person was with this person, and we're using photos and stuff. It was almost like NCIS or something like that.
No, there were a lot of nights in that office till 10, 11 p.m. and on the Slam Double XL days, and it just creates a bond that, you know, allows you to get into what we're going to explain. The one other thing, a little name dropping that speaks to the closeness of the magazine. So I was 97. The Slam just had they were always trying to have at least one intern every summer. The year after me was Bonsu Thompson. You know, shout out Bonsu Dreams, obviously huge and respected in basketball, but has become so much bigger. And the year after him was Vanessa Satin, who is way more hip hop, obviously, but she started at Slam. So that was, you know, me, Bonsu, Vanessa back-to-back summers, and then at the same time you had Datewan starting as an intern at Double XL. Like, it was just an amazing path basically to be on. And I don't want to steal Datewan's thunder or not about when we got to King, but the point is, before King was ever a thing, before he left Double XL, I actually left Slam for a little stint, but we had probably 2 years straight of just grinding, sometimes on the same projects, often totally different projects, but like in parallel, we were on parallel paths. And that's a bond that will last our whole lives. Really.
It's to the point where my mom has a picture of Ben in the house. Like my mom,
this is Francis.
My mom. That's how serious it is, man. Like, that's family right there.
Hold on, just a quick sidebar. Fun fact: Ben Osborne. That particular Great Day in Harlem issue was my first editorial work was in that magazine, that issue. I had 2 music reviews in that issue.
I love it. Who'd you review?
It was Ghetto Mafia from Decatur, Georgia, and then it was a Cell Block Records compilation from the West Coast. But that was like obviously I had no idea that these 2 reviews
were going to be.
I was writing going to be in that issue. So when it came out, I was just like, oh shit, what the what the hell is this?
Who was that Black? Who gave you the assignment?
Black Spot. Yes. I met Black and Day that August at a Vibe conference, and I was like, "Yo, man, yeah, man, I'm a writer. Need to get in this writing game, man.
Oh man, Bobby Yan.
It's like I did like a couple like independent things, but that was like my first real published work. And they were like, "Oh, you in the music? You like that South and West Coast stuff?" Like, yeah, man, come, you can review some of this stuff.
Yes, indeed.
I was like, "Bet, I love that stuff."
That's the issue to be in, bro. That was the issue to be in.
I was just, mind was blown once I saw the issue.
But yeah, man, I mean, that whole magazine, especially like Double XL and Slam, just starting to really build the Harris respect game and the credibility game, and we were so dominant in respect to like a Source and Vibe and all of them, where they were like mainstream rap, we were like a little bit more street, and then Sports Illustrated and all of them were mainstream, and Slam was street. Their covers, I have dudes with ice on, and like they were doing the street ball dudes heavy, and one mixtapes were popping crazy. So we had like the street culture on lock. And throughout Double XL, we started to make like the eye candy section and stuff like that, which ultimately sparked the idea for a King type of magazine. Dennis and the team over there, the publishers, they weren't necessarily into that phase at that point. I end up leaving to go to Hook. Ben ends up leaving to write the book.
Kind of. I mean, I moved to Puerto Rico with my then fiance for 6 months. Like, I needed a little bit of a break, and I wasn't sure what was gonna. I didn't necessarily see a path anytime soon at Slam. I think Russ Bankson was the editor-in-chief, and I figured Russ would do it forever, and if it was up to him, maybe he still would be there. That's a different podcast, but but yeah. So I left for like 6 months. I mean, I kept freelancing for Slam, but I literally like moved out of the country. I came back in like January 2001, and again was just freelancing for Slam, freelancing for Village Voice, a couple other outlets. I was like, I'm gonna just try to be a writer, and I would go into Slam like for closing week, like I would help proofread. But I basically was not really in the office. I was living in Brooklyn, and I got a deal to do a book about the Brooklyn Cyclones, who were, it was a big deal. Like, I'm a big Dodger fan, baseball fan, and it was going to be the first baseball in Brooklyn since the Dodgers had left in 1957, and they were starting in 2001. That was their first season, so I pretty much had committed to like following that season, go to as many games in Coney Island as possible. I had an agent. I did not have a publisher, but so I was basically just a writer getting paid to write various, for various publications, and then I would go like proofread Slam a little. So I had a minor presence in the office, but for all I knew, I would just be a freelancer with, hopefully in Slam a lot, but I was sort of off the like full-time editor path until our man asked me to meet him for the drink and a meal, maybe June. Was it like June 01?
It was like the end of May going into June. Yep. And I asked Ben to meet me for some drinks. I had a project that I wanted to talk to him about. And I was like, yo, are you interested in going back to Harris? Like for real. And I explained, the idea that I have for King, in that I knew from our previous work and experience with each other that he would be the one that could really take this huge idea and this whole lifestyle and culture thing that I wanted to, showcase and put something around it so I wouldn't go off the rails. And I knew Ben would be that person that can help me with that. And he did more than help. He really put the bricks together to be like, yo, Day, if you take this idea and do this, you can move this around. Why don't we try this? And I was just like, yo, we need people. We need people. And Ben was the one that said, yo, I remember you said yes, of course. We get to the office, it's just me and you, and we had to go on the hunt for a managing editor.
Yep. Yeah, because it was like I believed, I will forever give, not to embarrass you, but the biggest credit for the magazine of any person by a million miles is you. It was an amazing vision. You believed in it to such a degree, and none of us would be here if not for that. So I was in on your authenticity, your enthusiasm, and I believed in it too. And I was like, yes, I was like, I don't even know if at that point, like Dennis probably wasn't even trying to make me full-time. Maybe we could have gotten there, but it was like, look, Day, I'll come in 2 or 3 times a week. I'm going to help you as much as I can. I'll proofread. I'll have some ideas, but like we are working on, this is your vision. I'm just going to support it. But yes, it was pretty clear, like, Slam had a managing editor, Double XL had a managing editor. I still, again, maybe we could have like convinced Dennis that should be me, but I still had the book and other things. Yeah. So it was like, we got to go get one and, enter Trish, because you need, like you said, you could have, your ideas are like way out there. Maybe I bring them in a little, and then you need yet another person to actually, make it happen and have it become something that's actually on paper.
That's real. So Ben, if I remember correctly, we had that conversation about getting a manager editor, and you were like, yo, I'm gonna put some ads out. And did you go to Media Bistro with it?
That's what I would guess. Trish, you tell me.
Yeah. Enter Trish DeLuca.
Yeah. I feel like I was super into Media Bistro then, so that sounds right to me.
Might surprise you guys, but I did not answer the Media Bistro ad.
Oh.
I heard about the job through word of mouth. So way back when, I worked at a magazine called Mixer, which was electronic music magazine.
Yeah. I remember that completely.
Yeah. I do too.
And you now call it EDM. I'm sure it's called something else now. But at the time, we were run by a company called DMC, which does all the DJ competitions.
Yep.
So I think that was the year that we had Double XL as a sponsor. And while the competition was going on, my ad director, Angela Kirschbaum, introduced me to someone named Ari Jubran.
Oh, wow. Ari.
We hearing things for the first time, people.
Wow.
I did not remember that at all.
So Angela knew that I was looking to do something else, because my time at Mixer, while it was great and had tons of experience, I was getting a little burned out from constant content of dance music and everything else that went with it. Sorry, kind of jumped into, out of the pan into the fire with King.
Right.
But Ari was telling me there were 2 magazines that were coming out through Harris Publications. And about a couple of days later, I got Jonathan Reingold's number.
Oh,
wow.
I told him directly. I said, "Hi, you don't know me, but I heard you have a couple of issues coming out. I spoke to Ari. He thought I might be a good fit in there." And Johnny knew, like, I was just flustered on the phone. So he goes, "Why don't you just come in?" And I came in, and they actually had me take a writing test for Revolver.
Oh, yo, Revolver was around that time. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
And at the time, Revolver was supposed to be like an all-encompassing music magazine, kind of like the British magazines that had hip hop
Like
and rock
and all that. Yeah.
everything else. So I was brought on that. That did not work out. So Johnny said, "Well, we have this other thing going on called King. I think they're in the office if you want to meet them." And that's how it all started.
Oh, yo,
Wow.
I would have never put that together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
I do remember Ben and I talking to you together, I think.
Yes, we were in eventually what would become our office, and I spoke to you guys, and I might have met Evan that day and went downstairs,
right,
and saw where the art crew was, and some of Revolver, and Revolver was downstairs, and Guitar World was right next to us.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
And just to let the people know, we ended up in an office that was really fit for one person. And back in the day, Ben, Trish, and I were in that office together, like holding each other down. Any meetings, all that stuff. Everything happened in that office.
Our lunch and breakfast were held in there. I mean, everything we did. We took a corner and we stayed there.
Everybody.
Trish, were you there for 9/11?
Yes.
You were. So you must have. When did you start? Like in August?
I started in July.
July.
Okay.
I remember I got the call I think I got the first call from you in July.
Yeah. I'm sure I remember at one point there were a bunch of emails and phone calls I had to make and decipher and go through it. And I know, I had to call Adele. Like that was like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Adele's one of the first people to call. I remember going through the emails, and I guess we put out a call for writers, and I remember how many people emailed saying, like, "I want to interview Lauryn Hill." Like, and that was the pitch.
Wow.
Yo, those times are so crazy. I mean, I know we're talking about the first issue, actually the premiere one, but the preview issue was something that we had to cook up quick because Johnny and Dennis were like, "Look, we're going to go to market earlier than we expected. Let's get this preview issue out so everybody can see what y'all talking about." And then Evan had to come up with like what the look was going to be. I remember us going through like the logos, and this story is going to carry over into a few episodes later. But I remember going through the logos, and they had them all spread out on the floor in Dennis' office, and I was looking at them, and they used Tyra Banks' GQ cover as the placeholder against all these different
her image,
her shot in GQ. She was in a bikini or something with a bunch of tree stuff, and they had all these different King logos on that photo. And when I walked in, I was like, "Oh, this is dope." They were like, "Yeah, just don't worry about trying to get Tyra Banks. That's out of your league." And they made fun of me.
Oh, he's gonna worry about it.
Yo, they made fun of the moment that I just looked at as like the grand moment. I'm picking the logo. This is gonna be our stamp. And they were like, "Yeah, don't worry about that. You're never gonna get her." At that moment, she became the biggest target that we had to get. And I'm not sure if I ran into Trish or not after that, but I was just like, oh, I was so tight. And Trish, I don't know if you remember, but you kind of calmed me down. I was like, "Don't worry about it. You're gonna get her. You're gonna get her. Don't even worry about that." And the fact that you did that so early on, that made me realize, like, oh, we got a rider. Like, Trish ready. She's not gonna laugh with them. She's like, "Don't worry, you're gonna get her. Don't worry." And that's when that whole process of us trying to get her for 3 years happened. You know what I mean? But like, Trish, what was it like for you early on working in such a different culture from the EDM world, jumping into our stuff?
Yeah, it was a completely different world, and as worldly as I thought, I knew nothing. I knew it when I walked through that door. It didn't matter what my rank was or what my title was. I was brand new, and there were people in that office that would not let me forget it. There were people who I think were just angered at my presence because I don't know the backstory to who was before me, who was considered, but I heard some stuff. But I didn't let it try to affect my day to day. But there were familiar faces in the office. Paula Renfro, we worked together way back when.
Wow.
Both were freelancing at editorial. I was in circulation. She was, I forgot what she was doing at Time Out, but she was also freelancing for the Time Out music department. So it was like nice to see a familiar face. But yeah, it was trying to kind of fit in at Harris, which was tough. And then I had this epiphany of maybe I don't need to fit in. Maybe I just have to be me. The writers, I remember writers saying to me, like, "Are you down? Are you down for this culture?" I said, I'm getting grilled. Like, I eventually, like, I'm the person that's going to be assigning new stories, and I'm not. Like, you're grilling me.
Wow!
It wasn't you. You was down, man. It wasn't you was down.
Wow!
Yeah.
But that was real. You were though.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I think anytime I would try to explain that, this is my team, and I'll do anything for the team, it just sounded like I was just, probably not as real as I thought it would be, or as I thought I was. But yeah, I mean, it was just like I would say like a good 6 months before there were people in the office that would say hello.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
It was a tough spot. It was a tough spot. I think the thing that worked in Ben and I's favor being there every day was that we were there previously and people just saw us constantly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, Ben? Like
no, the magazine was new, but we were not.
Right.
We were not new. And also Trish didn't have what, we kind of had each other. Like I was saying at the beginning, we started around the same time in similar positions. I think Trish came in with higher stakes and less support. You weren't an intern, you were managing editor. And Daytwan is dreaming up the coolest magazine ever, and I'm like off writing a book half the time. So you had to deal with like the nuts and bolts of this thing.
That's real. Do y'all remember what do you remember about the first issue? Like working on this first issue.
I remember the talk about Layla Arcieri, like almost random. I don't remember who, but someone saw her on a poster either by the bus or the subway, and it was for a TV show, which I can't remember.
Son of a Beach.
That's it. And it was like, hey, what's her story? What if we got her for King? And I think it was a rather when we finally had her contact information, it was a rather easy conversation. I think she was more than happy to be involved with King, especially that we were it was the launch issue.
Yep.
Some people were skeptical and didn't know what we were trying to accomplish or what we were about, and rightfully so. We were very new, and people were nervous, but he was on board. Like it seemed to happen very quickly.
It was super fast.
Yeah.
Ben, you remember? Before I comment, I want to see what Ben remembers.
Well, I was going to say, as far as like she was just the perfect choice, I think, and the pictures came out great. And if you work at Harris, you know that, truthfully, like you could publish, 80, 90 pages of trash, and like if you have a good cover, you kind of have a winning issue. So like that was great. That said, it was I was also responsible for a lot of the other pages. And the biggest thing for me was the Floyd Mayweather story. Like he was not, he's arguably not a great human. We definitely did not know that, but he wasn't even, he hadn't even begun any downfall. He was still on the up as far as a boxer. And I don't think he was projected to be what he became. And, you know, same thing, to get a guy that would go on to, I mean, bigger than Lila Arcieri, obviously, even. I mean, one of the biggest boxers of our time, to spend real time with him. And we used a guy named Anthony Carter. Datewan, no one's going to listen if they're going to.
That's for the viewers.
But I remember, like, I'll always remember this voicemail, because Anthony Carter was like a up and coming writer. I don't think he even writes anymore. He lived in LA. I don't remember like how it became his assignment, but you know, LA made sense. We send him to Vegas. You know, I'm nervous as hell. I'm always nervous about shoots and interviews with athletes, rappers, models, whoever, you know, like people flake. And this is Floyd Mayweather, you know, he's got his millions in his cars, like, and, you know, I think I was away, or it was I think it was like on a Friday, and I checked my voicemail, and Anthony Carter's like, you know, you send a man to do a man's job. We got it all. And I was like, you know, so it was like, look, number one, first and foremost, was the cover, and, you know, the pic, the photos just nailed. And then, you know, again, the magazine was not going to be make or break on like what athlete you covered, but I don't think we really could have had a more perfect person for like a new thing that is a lifestyle and flash and personality. And he had all that. And again, you know, now we probably would not want to feature him, because God knows what he's gotten himself into. But, you know, back then he was just kind of a up and comer. And we were basically saying, watch out for this dude. And he did everything that we said he would, and then some. And, you know, that was just, you know, I'm trying to be the guy that's going to get, you know, some good males. And obviously, you know, again, the women are going to be what makes the magazine famous, but we're trying to add some meat too. And so that was just a really important feature to me. And I think for the magazine, because it was like, you know, you can then build off of that. And well, look, we spent an entire day with Floyd Mayweather. You can't give us, you know, 3 hours. So that was just huge. And, you know, we went on, maybe I'll come back for some future issue conversations, but the same way that, you know, Datewan, Adele were able to get, you know, just super famous women to get down, you know, the athletes that we did stories with were pretty awesome. And,
man. And,
you know, that was always my biggest, like,
of course,
you know, responsibility. So
we could tiptoe into some of those, Ben, because like Tracy McGrady was huge for us. Like that was a big one. And getting him to talk about like his first love, which was actually baseball.
Yeah.
I remember like, you know, getting those type from you and linking up with those sports generals, that kind of helped break us outside the box of only, you know, covering certain aspects of sports. We were covering a full 360. But one of the other things that was shocking in that first issue, because that first issue was so like, it throws you off. You got Rockwilder, the producer for Redman and Method Man, on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
But then you have what's her name? Jamie from
Sigler. Jamie Lynn Sigler.
You had her and Trish. I see you bobbing your head because
was it Sopranos?
Yes.
The Sopranos.
Meta.
Right.
Yo, that was crazy for us to get. I'm trying to remember, how did we even get that?
Did Trish do that story?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. A publicist I knew recently signed her and said, is there, you know, do you think, you know, there'd be a fit for her in the magazine? And I think I asked as well. Like, I think it was just the two of us saying like, hey, let's work together. And it happened. I remember that shoot quite well. Like that was like a day-long shoot, multiple multiple changes. I remember that. We were in Little Italy, I think, for some shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, we were trying to be literal. Like, oh, take a soprano girl to Little Italy.
Right.
Clay Patrick McBride shooting.
Yeah. But I do remember, I think my story, like, I remember we didn't have a lot of women writers interview the women in King, because I think that might have been stemmed from my story, because it it seemed more friendly, and I don't think that was what we were going for. Not to say that we were combative, not
Right.
It was more sisterly in a way, and I don't think anybody was picking up the magazine to read that.
I mean, it turned out to be more of a shocker, I think, that we just had her in general.
Absolutely.
People were just on some like, oh, they're just going to do black women, you know, and the fact that we had Jamie in there in the very first issue, that set a tone like, oh man, we're shooting for here. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. But we're also going to make it open, you know, so that opened the door for it not to be crazy later.
I think that the story you told about Tyra, like, you know, Harris on one hand, you know, did give you the chance to make this magazine, and some degree of freedom with it, but they were also very ready to just put it in a box of, you know, black women not wearing much clothing, and like maybe you'll talk about a rapper, you know, maybe. And they did not care, and they'll just sell ads against it. But that's why I'm saying from the beginning, your vision was so much bigger, and it's going to have women of all races. It's going to have athletes, scientists, doctors, men, women. Like, it's a men's, this is an adult growing up men's magazine. Yes, we're going to put a beautiful girl on the cover and hopefully sell some copies. But even those choices, you know, they wouldn't have cared if you were just using video girls. You wanted movie stars, TV stars. And, you know, I think you're right. Like, you just, that first issue showed right from jump, like, this is not, you know, I don't know if Smooth even existed, but this is not some, like, this is not just, you know, models you've never heard of. Like, it was, you had real dreams, and, you know, again, all the credit for you for the aspirations. And then I think the people on this call and others helped fill it in and helped bring that vision to life that, you know, was definitely more than anyone at Harris, any of the leadership there ever envisioned or cared about. You know, like, you did it. You did it for you, and we did it for ourselves. Our bosses did not give a shit about the quality of subjects that we were writing about.
Right.
But even with that being said, Ben, you know, one intricate, you know, thing that I remember about your presence, which helped to bring that balance, when a lot of people like to just talk about it's only about girls. Like, nah, it's a lot more than that. Talk about the real life section, man.
Yeah, with that. That was in the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't honestly remember. I don't think I came up with the name. Maybe Daytwan did, but I knew that, you know, or again, Daytwan wanted more than he wanted diverse subjects. And I was like, I got you. You know, there's people that our audience, you know, a younger, multicultural audience. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, this was great. So this was just all walks of life, Adele. I mean, whether we had sports or finance, I mean, business was maybe one of them. You know, training, just like
wisdom,
you know, wisdom with like OGs. Like, let's just honor, you know, people doing cool shit that have not, you know, if they've been covered, it's been in maybe newspapers or you know, like, but people that maybe wouldn't have never been in GQ or Esquire, but also they're not going to be in XXL. They're not, you know, music. They're not, you know, they're not necessarily current artists. So just shine a light on real people doing real things that would appeal to someone buying a magazine with Layla Arcieri on the cover, but that also wants to learn too. So I was super proud of that, and that, you know, that section grew, shrunk, but it let us work with so many different people. And I think, it was just part of our heritage of like covering many different men too. And, you know, probably helped, you know, percolate into the Coming Kings. And, you know, it's just like you said, like, this was not just, you know, you always had a woman on the cover, but this was a pretty far ranging magazine that I think, you know, we covered a lot of really interesting people. It also let us work with a lot of writers. I mean, part of it, like, I had such a soft spot for freelance writers that were just trying to get get published. And they weren't going to pitch. I mean, I'm sure Zaytoine maybe got put onto a couple like up and coming models, but most of the women, like, he knew who we should do, but they wanted a chance. That's really the other thing, Adele. So many of the real life stories were inbound pitches from writers that just knew about dope people, and they had nowhere to write about them.
Wow.
Oh, yo,
so they were coming to him or you, and you would redirect them to me, and like it was just a great chance to work with some awesome writers on really interesting topics.
All the way, man. Like you mentioned Anthony for the Floyd Mayweather one, but then we have Miguel Burke. I remember Miguel, like he did that Rockwilder joint, and Miguel was like one of those grind dudes, man. Like early on back in the day, I remember him from Vibe and all of that stuff. Like he was a really good dude, man. He was the former online editor for Vibe.com, and when I started the mag, he was so into like, yo, I'm down, whatever you need. And it was like this community of people that I had met up, like 2001 would have made 5 years that I was in the industry. And this was my first real big move for myself, bringing on the fam. And everyone that I had met in those 5 years in the writing world, it seemed like all the support was there and they all just wanted to jump in.
There's not many better feelings than assigning a cool story to someone you like and making sure they get paid for it.
Like Keith Murphy, that's our brother, and he was like editor at large. And then I remember, Ben, you're gonna bug out, and I mentioned Keith because he's the best, and we mentioned him a couple of episodes ago. But someone that goes unsung, who was like kind of like a sniper for us, was Lang Whitaker.
Yeah.
Lang was in the office. He worked with Slam. And if you can, Ben, can you speak on Lang a little bit?
Well, Lang was the first online editor for Slam. I mean, Slam was, like a lot of Harris publications, late to the internet, and finally launched a website in 2000. I want to say summer 2000, and Lang had been writing for Creative Loafing down in Atlanta. Like super plugged in Atlanta, and I don't remember how he got to, how Dennis found him or who hired him, but basically he was the original editor of Slam Online. He had a column called The Links, which was just like super early basketball blogging, but he'd also talk about life, and he was just a great resource for, he could write about music, he could write about movie stars, he was super plugged in, he knew the Outkast guys forever, Goody Mob, the throwback jerseys, like just he was a great resource for that part of the country, and just quality writing on different topics when we needed it.
All the way.
That same like Slam XXL thing that just continued. Then it was Slam XXL King and other, like we all worked for each other whenever there was a need,
Yep. Everybody with round robin kind of. That was like one of the things. I definitely want y'all take on Keith Murphy, because Murphy, look, like you both start laughing. So real quick, it's like I mentioned him because Adele and I, and of course Shanita, I'm gonna ask y'all about Shanita in a second. We called ourselves like the Seinfeld crew, because it was like I was Jerry, Adele was Kramer, Murph was George Costanza, and Shanita was Elaine. And I just
those LA trips, those infamous LA trips.
For real. I just wanted to get y'all take on Keith Murphy as well.
I don't know if anybody remembers this, but when we would choose covers, Evan and Dejuan would call everybody, I don't know, one by one, but would call people down to the art area and have a few covers on the wall and say, quick, which one do you like? And you pick one and just leave. Poor Murph, anytime he picked a cover, he was the odd one out. If he had 3 and everybody liked 1, Murph never knew it, but he went 3 and then would walk away. And then would go to bat why he thought that one was the best cover. But That was like where that was like a rare miss from her. But
Oh
everything,
my God.
music and with fashion and we talk about politics every once in a while, but like he was always on it
all the time, man. That's that guy. Ben.
I mean, the him and Adele back and forth. I mean, that episode is going to be must watch. Like,
and then
I can't wait.
When she would chime in, oof, I felt bad for her.
Yeah, I mean, let's be this guy. He is very resilient because I mean, Adele was relentless, and Adele was staying at his house. This is the gratitude that you show.
Listen, for those watching on video, Murph is like the size of the guy on my shirt.
See, this is the type of what happened. Yo, I can't wait till he come on.
I love shit. Come on, man. We love Murph. We love Murph.
But humor aside, I mean, just he was like 50 when he was 18. Just very mature.
He just turned 50, didn't he?
Deep knowledge of. No, now he's probably like 80. deep knowledge of music. Deep knowledge of Chicago. It's cool how we're like. I think that. Adele, you were living in California, correct?
Yep.
And then, like, that was no small thing, and maybe it was a coincidence, but like, I think Scoop Jackson brought so much to Slam. That was Chicago. Murph was very Chicago. Daytwan was Brooklyn. Trish and I, suburban New York, but still like grasping the New York thing. So much of Lang's, help was that he knew Atlanta. So, for Murph, I think of, besides taking a lot of jokes, was really just like, his music knowledge, soul, hip hop, and Chicago, like just those were such huge. She was such an expert on those topics. And again, because we were doing a broad ranging magazine, like his sensibility just, brought a lot to the table. He's just super sharp and
he is. He is, man. And he was so universal. Like, he could speak on any topic. I mean, you could go through, of course, we mentioned sports and music, but his historical nature on politics and
super well read.
Oh, man.
Rock and roll shit.
Rock and roll alone is yes. Especially Prince. And we all know why. Because him and Prince both wore platform shoes. I'm gonna pay for these. Oh my god. But yeah, man, I did want to talk on Lila Arcieri one more time. I wanted to speak on that shoot because that was the first shoot. Her and Tangi Miller. I remember just real quick. I remember flying out to Cali. I didn't get a car that first part of the trip because I didn't hook up with Adele yet during that portion of the trip. But I went out there, and Tangi Miller, who was on like one of the lesser known shows at the time, I just found her on the internet and was like, yo, she's dope. Let me reach out. I reached out. I remember taking a cab from Santa Monica to downtown LA, not knowing what the price would be. I was like,
that's a stretch.
Yo, it was like $100, man. And this was back before no Uber, nothing. It's straight up and down cab. So I get there, boom. And her, I think her mom or somebody was there with her. And I mentioned that because a lot of times people thought that we were shooting these girls and they were just them and their team. A lot of times their family members would be there, their husbands, brothers, their uncles, cousins, moms, a lot of times. And they were all so sweet. And that shoot went off without a hitch. I think Adele, Shanita, and Murph end up coming out. And I link up with y'all, and we all stayed over at the Hyatt.
Yep, on Sunset.
On Sunset. We go to the shoot for Lila Arcieri, Charlie Langella, our longtime homie. He's crazy on set. He's always barking orders and trying to get the girls to get in the right kind of spot. But Lila's like demeanor is so chill and calm, he couldn't yell at her. All he could do is just like speak to her. And Shanita is like, the model whisperer. She could get them to do anything. And we have an amazing shoot. We even get her to put on the handcuffs. We handcuffed her just for a dope shot. We leave the shoot. driving all the way back to the hotel. Beautiful ride. I'm having a good time. Now I got a car. Park it. Come down like 2 days later. Didn't use the car for 2 days. The whole side of the car is smashed. The whole side of the I'm like, yo, this is the rental. I'm like, yo, what the hell? I was like, yo, I'm wilding out at the hotel staff. Shanita and them, they trying to calm me down. I'm like, nah, they wrecked the car, gonna bring it up. So they went and found the guy that drove the car when I dropped it off. They was like, this was the guy that picked up the car. I was like, yo, man, what you do to the car? He was like, you drove it here like that. I said, now you're gonna tell me that I'm stupid enough
Wow.
to drive a car with the whole side. He was like, sir, you drove here with the car like this. I would not lie to you. I'm yelling at him. I'm going crazy. I walk around the side that's on the driver's side. I walk around and under the windshield is a note. Because we left at night, I never saw the note. Someone left a note saying, hey, I hit your car. I'm so sorry. Please give me a call.
Wow.
I got in that car, drove all around the city with all the way back, never once knowing that the whole right side of the car is smashed up. So Shanita and I, we called the people. They came and they were so like apologetic. I had to apologize to the hotel staff.
Wow.
But that particular situation made for a really good story because I was able to tell Lila and all of them that during the interview, and that was like an icebreaker. Then the Hyatt gave us like free a bunch of stuff because they just didn't understand what was going on. I just want to be able to tell that story because that's just the tip of the iceberg of everything that used to happen to us at these shoots.
Typical LA.
It was a typical
LA trip experience.
You know, and that was just the first issue, being able to deal with stuff like that on the side. It was like all kind of stuff going back and forth with like insurance and everything. And I just look back at those times and I just start to laugh because those used to be the biggest problems, not knowing all these issues later, it was going to be things that were way more, way crazier than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, what did you remember about that whole issue?
Dude, that issue. Well, I wrote 2 pieces in the premiere issue. I wrote, I did a piece on Kent Masters King, who at the time, I believe she started off modeling and started to act, and she was in I think I interviewed her for The Wash, the movie with Dr. Dre and Snoop. And so I did that, and then I remember doing a smaller piece on a fashion piece on BBD. It was a fashion forward, piece, and so it was just like for me, it was just a crazy experience because I got into this, in the last episode, I did not want to write for King. Like I started off Trish. I started off not like wanting to fool. Like I listen, honestly, like when Dave first gave me that initial call, like, and started to, hint around to, okay, I got this new thing and didn't really want to talk about it. But the thing that I took away from it was like, okay, it's going to be a new magazine project. Hey, I didn't care what the hell it was. That at that time, I was getting so much online money as a freelancer. I had an outlet for any and everything you can imagine. I could write and review or do whatever. I was like, man, this is the life. As opposed to waiting forever, for a print piece and something to get assigned and it to finally come out and your check finally come, or if, it's going to get, no, it's not going to make this issue. It's going to make the next issue. We pushed it. But I'm like, hold on, in print, that was a new concept for us. It's like, hold on, I could write today and it go up today and my money's coming. So
it was a different thing.
It was a different thing. But once we, once I got to touch that preview issue, I was like, oh, this looks special.
Yeah,
and then once we, got into the mix of doing that first issue, I was just like, oh, I also said on the last issue, I was like, listen, I'll do it, but this is my goal. If I could work on this magazine and make a total of $2,000, I would be set. I was like, man, I'm going to make me $2,000 and I'm done because I need to write me a book. And that's the type of money I need to get started. And however many issues later.
Exactly. 20 years later, here we are. I will say that we had some incredible pieces in this issue. We had Murph did a story on Death Row 2.0 with Suge Knight. You know, he brought in like Ray J and Crooked.
So this is after Snoop, after that original Death Row run, and Pac died, Snoop left, everybody's leaving the label, Corrupt left, and then it was like this new version of Death Row.
Oh yeah, man, that was so dope for him to get deep with that whole team. And then I just realized, like, we also had Nate Dogg in that issue, the late great Nate Dogg, and I remember him flying out, and we did the shoot with him at that Irish pub around the corner on 5th. I forgot the name of it, but he came to the shoot. Yes, yes, that's where we shot him. That's where we shot him, and he was so cool, you know, just real chill, laid back. He was happy to be in the first issue. He was like thanking us for even thinking about him. His first album was coming out.
Who did that one? Murph did that story too?
Nah, it was somebody else. Who did that? I think Lang. Was it Lang? No, Mark Allwood.
Wow.
Mark Allwood.
Wow.
Yes, Mark Allwood. Yep. I don't think Mark was on set, but Lang came. I thought of Lang because Lang came with me to the shoot, I believe. We were just chilling with him and stuff, and just to understand, like, having someone of that status at that time, he was the man for all the hooks on everything.
Yeah,
and for him to say, like, yo, I'll do your first issue, it was really big for us. So Death Row, we had Lang. We also did Dame Dash in his office, and we had a section in the up front called Treasure, and that's where we would go to different people and ask them, like, what's something that you treasure? And it was his autographed boxing glove of Muhammad Ali. He had the case, in his office, and everyone, it was always a conversation starter. So we just wanted to get into those type of things outside of the women as well. But I just got to say, like, I thank y'all so much. I mean, it means the world to me that we could have started something that was so culture shifting within our space, and then go through all the trials and tribulations and still be cool, because there are so many people that aren't cool with the people that they started.
Man,
you know, especially 20 years later. So, you know, Trish, you're going to be on the show a whole bunch more. Ben, you're going to be on the show a whole bunch more. And we're trying to make it to at least the 50th issue and incorporate all the different iterations of King and how it rocked. You know what I mean? So thank y'all, man.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Adele.
we love y'all. We love y'all.
it's great to see you guys. It's so deserving. It really was a special publication, and I think you're right. Like, we came out really strong. It's a great first issue.
Word up.
But was it really strong? Was it just young and just like you know? It was just like it's crazy to think how young, you know, we were, and to think like, man, I don't know. It's just mind blowing.
It is,
man. I mean, like, I think we
didn't know any better.
Exactly. It seems almost harder now. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, definitely. But thank y'all so much. We're gonna talk to Evan soon too, so I'll keep y'all posted on that.
All right.
That's gonna be a good one.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Love y'all.
Blah 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 blah.